think I might have to start wearing headphones just to keep some of the sound out. NVIDIA continuing to push up today. Go to the TradeCaster route. Copy that over here to the live stream chat. TradeCaster.com. Watching some of these names on pre-market, Microsoft, Apple, NVIDIA, Apple, 188.18 back in action. Let's see what Meta's doing. Microsoft was our leader, and NVIDIA as well. So we're gonna kind of just keep an eye on these two guys for the beginning of the week. Right. That liquidity zone at 18,000, obviously we wicked down to it right on the open. Sunday night, we wicked down right to that 18,000, bounced. There's obviously some sort of buyer here. We're gonna be patient around it if we come back to it. Also, all-time highs could get run again because you know, you noticed on Friday, right? This was our run up on Friday. We ran up to all-time highs, and then we didn't really sell off. I mean, this to me is not a huge bit of profit taking for 1,500, right? Because we rolled over from those highs, we pushed back up, we came back in, and we started to wedge, right? Once that wedge formed, you expect, okay, possibly either a dump or a continuation. We just sat right here on the close. So this little dotted line there is the close. I don't really see any big profit taking here. This piece that wicked down to the 18,000, this open here is probably people right on open taking their profits from last week, but then right you see it get off 18,000 and get bid right back up. So let's see what happens at these levels. Let's let it play out a little bit. We could bounce off that 18,000 level, or we could rotate right back up before we even get there. So let's be mindful. It's Monday morning. We're gonna be a little patient. You can see we got the delta, like we were pushing up on delta. Price was stabilizing below here, starting to get a push down. We did crack that little breakout zone from Friday. We sat below it a little bit, sat on top of it and bounced. So this is gonna be just a good area to watch if you do get a bounce. We do want to kind of fade that overnight high or that overnight low, so that's what our play is. You can see on the 30-minute, we do have this trend line that's still sort of in play, right? We bounced off of it, we held it, we bounced off of it again. With this base pattern here, we could even, just continue this until we get to this trend line here and then bounce off of here to rotate higher again, just because markets are doing what they do. And then you got the S&Ps, right? Broke through that high there, made this high, this all-time high there. 5,000 obviously was that key level. Broke through it with no problem. on Friday, and we've just been rallying ever since. So we're kind of just sitting in the middle of this range there. You got the divergence going on, right? NASDAQ is pushing down while S&Ps are pushing up. So which one is the laggard today? Who wants to push up? Who wants to push down? Because they are running opposite directions right now. All right. The copier is on. Tilts heavy or short. Good morning, everybody. I forget to say good morning. Kind of want to get down to that overnight low, clean it up, clean up the 18,000 level a little bit. You know, you see all this chop, all this here. If we can get in through it somewhere into here and then start to rotate back through, could look for that long there. And if we're watching these, Microsoft selling off on the open, Nvidia just sitting at the highs once again. Apple tried to reject that 188.18 level. So Apple bounced right off 188.18 again. It's been very, very strong, that level. Microsoft still pushing to the downside. Seems like Nvidia, the NQ is catching up to the ES, but the ES is pushing up to the high end of the range. So let's just watch, make sure we're patient with this. Nvidia now pushing high side. Meta also just sitting there. Microsoft leading us down. We're still below VWAP here. Never really ticked off that overnight low. Nothing on tilt at the moment. I can't see it. This could just be tricky right here. Look at all this chop from the other day. You know, the only thing I really kind of see is this level here, that wick, and then how it reacted there pretty much all overnight. I'm going to use that just as an area of information, not necessarily to trade around, but right now, not yet. But it's something that I want to keep an eye on for the next, few sessions or whatever. Just because we did grab liquidity over it on the open on Sunday night, we pushed it, rotated right down. Then it acted as resistance. We rotated, it acted as support, and now we just pushed right through it and could be using it as support, moving into the high side. So, or you could see that wick off, but you could see Delta kind of congruent, pushing high. We bounced off that zone there. You can see right to the tick, just above this zone here, higher low. Like I said, I wrote this up in my little my weekly write up that something about the way the markets closed on Friday, still super strong, still catching bids towards even to the end of the day, failing to really break down on any sort of profit taking, where the price ran up all week and profit taking was very, very minimal at the end of the day. So the market's been obviously driven by Nvidia pretty much solely. Nvidia and Microsoft have been holding us up. You see Microsoft pulling down. Apple was sitting on the lows, but it's trying to catch a little bit of a bounce. But Nvidia is still rallying, right? It's still giving you that good push to the upside. So let's just be patient on it, because Nvidia could fail any second on these. And then with Microsoft rolling over, you could just be mindful of that to try and push us down even some more. So let's just wait. Patience. It's Monday. No real need here. Still in the middle of my zones. Obviously, you see this zone that I drew up here. This zone I just drew up just out of pure interest. I just wanted to see how it would react. It reacted overnight. It sat above it. Right now, you're wicking into it. You're sitting on top of VWAP. I want to see that overnight high get cleaned up. Interestingly enough, that all-time high is right here. So potentially, all-time high, previous session high, could be a good area of confluence for market participants to want to at least get to and then see what happens when it gets above it. I wanted this to get further or closer to that 18,000 level before I decided to take a long off of it, but that was a good opportunity there as it pushed into the zone, right? The bottom end of this, top end of here, you could be risking below here and still not risking very much. So that was a good entry if you are just like a bounce play type, getting on a limit order or something like that. But you got these liquidity grabs there. Very interesting. We're going to be watching this zone to see how it shapes up for the rest of the week and beyond. Because, like I said, when we're at these all-time high levels, all-time highs, we don't have very much information. This is all the information we have historically for this entire area, right? So we don't have anything else to go on from the past. We don't have anything from there. But what we do have is information on how all-time highs kind of react, and also how price has acted over the last session and then overnight last night into today and pre-market today. So you have this information, and then you also have the information that the equities will provide you because they are the heaviest weighted in this index. If the Apple breaks the support and NVIDIA fails to continue to break out, Microsoft has been rolling over. You have all these confluences to kind of help you continue to push to the downside. However, we just need to be further up or further down to either make any sort of decision, because right now you're just sitting in the middle of a range from the end of Friday and all overnight. So it's still kind of deciding. So it's nothing that I really want to get involved with yet, just because of the decision making that's going on. Like, even a good break above, it needs to be a convincing break. It needs to have a hold. There's got to be a lot of information. And like I said, with this trend line that has been holding, if you get a base pattern like this, you got it over here, it based out until it got to that trend line, and then it rallied. Same thing, base out till it got to the trend line, rallied, based, rallied. We're in a larger base, so this rally may, if it does do it again, could be another significant pop to the upside before selling off eventually. If not, if we fail this, right, lower high, another lower high, you get a good bounce or wick, breakdown of this wick right here at 18,000. If 18,000 can't hold, then that's potentially when the crack of the trend line may be an actual one. Like this one was a false breakdown. You could be looking to see if this will crack and rotate you down for the bigger selling pressure. But right now, this level seems to be reacting to all that information we had from overnight right here. Like I said, I drew this level up really just based on that overnight price action, and we're just looking to see if we can just gather information here. We're still in information gathering. We're not in any sort of execution mode yet. When I start to see things develop a bit more, like the delta divergence that we have currently, right? Delta's pushing down, price is trying to push up. This kind of tells me that we're probably looking to get a little bit more of a sell side push if we can get some acceptance below here. Because the VWAP, you rotate VWAP, and then just be mindful of all these areas right here and here. 18,000 is really the area of interest for me, right? Anything here, from here to here is my overnight range, and we're directly pretty much right in the center of it. Even this is, we're approaching it. We just never got to the end of it, and I like to fade the extremes in a manner that's more conducive to limiting risk on either end and giving myself a better chance at least catching some, if not all, of that rotation from high to low or low to high or, anything of that nature. Breakouts at all-time highs, they seem to have been working, but right now I need to see it do something around that trend line before I would like to get long for a more, confident long or short. Today we will go to 11-ish. I know the wife has to run, and like at the end of last week, I had my son on most of the stream pretty much the entire day, so it was fun to have him on here, showing the realities of trading and everything like that. So he may be back at the end of this stream. One of them at least. And if not, if we've already executed some of our good trades for the day, or if we've taken what we want to take and that's it, then we'll probably get off. But Delta is now pushing down even harder. So that grab of liquidity above here, this wick here, all of this chop was cleaned up, and now we have accepted now down below. We're right from value area high to value area low, so that's that rotation of level to level, but it's not the levels that I'm looking for. It's such a tight little range here. You know, you'd only have, I mean, you could have made a good amount on it if you were in at the highs there, but rotating it down, just being observant, understanding that we're still in the middle of my two zones, so my points of execution are not triggered yet. So I'm just being observant, watching how price is reacting to some of the delta moves, right? Congruent up. We've started to falter. You started to get that divergence, so that gave you that follow through, right? I mentioned as you started seeing price trying to tick up, I said, hey, delta's pushing down. You're probably going to get a little bit of a further pullback or sell side move right here. So if you took that, that's good, but it just wasn't in an area for me for interest wise that I would want to take it. Enjoying myself a nice cup of the Scalper's Delight Dark Roast from Day Traders Coffee Company. DayTradingCoffeeCompany.co. We did have a Super Bowl and a Super Bowl discount code that I have discontinued now since it's no longer the Super Bowl. We can stop worrying about that and start worrying about trading again. Baseball season's right around the corner. You still get a discount if you're watching the stream, so don't hesitate to go over to daytradingcoffeeco.com. It's in the chat, it's in the bio. Use my username, Policing Pips, at checkout. You get 15% off, so there's that. If you're a viewer of mine and you always want to get a discount on your coffee, you'll always be able to get it just using my username as your discount code to get you 15% off. Perks of being the boss. Giving your people what they want. But right now they want to trade and I don't have it. So you can see just diddling in the middle here for me. We are starting to develop higher low. We have a little bit of a possible, wedging out here. It's a very short time frame wedge type pattern. You came back into that level, failing it, trying to hold below VWAP. S&Ps haven't really gone anywhere. That's it. This is the entire range so far, and it's just going tick for tick. Amazon, Alphabet may follow Meta's dividend lead. Interesting. So this here interests me, but more so to the top end of this wick there. So you can see the delta divergence here as well, right? Price is trying to tick down, but delta is creeping up. Buyers are stepping in. Buyers are trying to hold this up. If you don't get a good move off of this and delta continues to push up, then you may rotate higher. But now you see delta starting to play along as price is coming in. So the sellers are starting to win the battle here. I mean, really, I use delta for that real indication alone. I don't have any set level of number like you see here. It's at 1912. It bounces around, all that. I don't really care too much. I just use it relative to previous price and previous delta points, right? If I could find the definition for you to be an exact cumulative delta indicator information. So the actual definition for the cumulative delta indicator that I have here is If the cumulative delta is positive, it tells us about domination of aggressive buyers during a trading session, and vice versa. If the cumulative delta is negative, it means that the aggressive sellers dominate during a trading session. So I use it on the minute chart here to just kind of give myself a better indication of who's being more dominant and how dominant are they, right? The accumulation of buyers or sellers. If it's negative at this point and then price is pushing up, potentially that divergence leads for price to flip on you. So that's what I use that for. Hopefully, if you don't use it, or if it's something that you've been looking at and weren't really sure of, like, you know, what kind of information it's providing, it's really just very simple. It's just who at the moment is dominating the battle here. Is it buyers or is it sellers? And currently it looks like sellers are kind of winning out. We're trying to make new lows. Delta push down. Everything seems congruent, but still chopping in the middle of this zone here. I don't have this being relevant. It's going to just shift. As the price develops during the morning session, I just adjust, especially at these highs. I like to add some lines here just to kind of give myself some ideas to kind of see what might be happening, you know, how price is wedging out, how price might want to break, you know, visualize a false breakout in a direction. This level has starting to tell me that it's being more and more important, right? Just because price is winding up inside of it. A crack of it, break down, rotate up. Still want price to get down to that 18,000 level or up into that, you know, that overnight high, 18,060-ish. And then, you know, anywhere in this range here could look for that short up there. But Nat S&P's looking to rotate a little bit from this high here to downside, but they're stuck in the middle of their opening range, right? That's that opening 1 minute, still stuck there. So you got a wick here on the bottom. Potential failure of a breakdown of this wedge now twice. Could catch some bounce. Delta wicked it as well. You know, kind of acting the same as price. If it does want to go green and push up over, then you got this to go green and push up over there. Let me see if this phone call was what I was supposed to be waiting for. Nope. Good. Okay. Looking for opportunity at our zones. We're not trying to just mess around in the middle here. You can see my my profit little bar there. I'm flat, have no positions yet on the day. I might add a little more statistics onto that, you know, have flat on there just for, you know, information purposes, but I might add some trade locations or where I'm long or short from, average entry price, just to give you some ideas of what I'm doing and a better understanding of it. Microsoft still giving a little downside pressure. This is the 30-minute. I'm going to go to the 5 just to get a little more information on it. Did break down from that area, and it does look like it wants to continue to push lower. Nvidia also pushed up and then failed those highs. Apple probably failed that low. Yeah, 188.18. So these are all helpful things that are going to tell you that there is some downside pressure that may continue on. So just watch for it. See if Microsoft continues. Watch it for that bounce at that area. Nvidia, just see if it's going to bounce or continue. It looks like it's bouncing a little bit after that break of the low. That is the high. Well, the high from Friday, you know, during market hours is 721, 722-ish, and we got close. You know, we ticked off on it and bounced from there. So that might be that thing that's holding us up here, because Microsoft's trying to break through that low, and Apple is pushing up back towards that 188.18, and you can see that the hour price has gone pretty much nowhere. We opened, we went up down, back in, and we bounced off of our liquidity zone here at that 18,000 level, that zone, and now we're just sitting flat right here, below that 1830, below that little zone that we drew right here. So let's just wait and see, right? This is a false breakdown, possibly could rotate down, back through, up and through here. Could be a good way to mitigate your risk if you're looking to take a long position here, right? But this is lower high, lower high, lower high, now lower low, lower low. If this cracks here through this little pattern here, right, you're getting good delta pushing up, prices lagging a bit, S&P's is pushing into that liquidity zone. A break above this little top end of this wedge through your VWAP could give you a little bit of a pop. Look at that delta push. Tilt is 60% long, not like a heavy tilt, just congruent with direction on this bounce. Until like I said, I can't act until I get closer to the red line or closer to the green line. Those are my areas of interest. If you're a breakout type person and you're looking at this right here, you swept below these lows once, sat on top of it, maybe try to get people involved below here. You're holding this downward trend line, holding VWAP. If you crack it, you could expect it to be, a bit of a impulsive type move because of the times 1, 2, 3. This will be the third or fourth touch on this area, and then there is some liquidity above into this range there. But if it holds and you continue to the downside, you could get follow through. So just, this is kind of an area of decision, and it's probably the time where it will make that decision, right? We went red to green to red to green to red to green. Apple's still trying to bounce a little. Microsoft still pushing through the lows and selling good. So this rejection of this level here could push us down. But if Nvidia is bouncing, which it is, but it's pushing right into the bottom end of this pre-market liquidity chop. So rotating, still rotating, probably helped by Microsoft, still pushing to the downside. So I think the only reason we haven't quite flushed is because Nvidia is holding up. If Nvidia breaks, Apple's popping a little bit as well. If we can get Apple up to that 188.18 to give it a little bit of a breakout or a failure of this, that's going to give you a little bit more of a move on the NASDAQ. It's kind of holding up. Now it's propping up. We're getting that liquidity grab here. Could get this breakout. You could risk to the bottom of this. It's not quite a huge risk that you can capitalize on a decent move up to the upside here. Like I said, if it does break through this level, it should do it with some sort of force. You have this congruent delta, price pushed down, price stopped, rotated, stopped, rotated, based out. Now it's delta's pushing up, price isn't pushing up, but if you do get price to catch up a bit with the delta help, more buyers will probably start to pour in. If you don't get that help and VWAP holds as resistance, then something down here may rotate us down even further. Right, there you go. Starting to try and break that VWAP. If it breaks it, there should be a little bit of a push. There you go. That's a little bit of a tick up there. There's you pushing. Like I said, I'm going to call stuff out that I'm not necessarily taking as a trade, because I do know that is a it's a probability of this working out just based on how it's been playing with that long bias. Buyers seem to step in a bit more lately than sellers. Obviously, we've been bid up and bid up and bid up, and just the way that Friday closed with the lack of real selling at the end of the day, like there was some selling, but there was nothing that was significant to where I was like, okay, these are people taking profit, except for maybe Sunday night on the open where it pushed right down to 18,000 and then got bid right back up, right? This red line. Just any sort of breakout above here seems like there's just going to be more and more people being like, all right, buyers are coming back, but this level here was pretty significant as support overnight and then as resistance later in yesterday's Sunday night session. So just we're watching this, we're watching it. Everything is patience right now. Could just chop for a bit. What is this? I didn't do anything on Amazon. Really annoying that it switched cards. Okay. We are rejecting that 188.18. Microsoft bouncing a little bit, but selling still. Just grabbing some more orders to push down. Nvidia still bidding up. So these are the names that we have to watch. That's going to kind of help us out. S&P's is right in a liquidity zone, but trying to break through it. If it could break above, then you can get that continuation. This is an interesting setup here that, like I said, I need to get to the green line or the red line before I start to make any sort of decisions in this market, because really we're just right where we started from yesterday, right? That's the close. We've hit the close, and we're sitting right on it. This dotted line here is the close from Friday, according to the Quant Tower platform, right? Buenos dias. I'm very patient on Mondays. I try to be, at least. Sometimes I see some good opportunities to go right off the jump. Like I said here, there's a chance that this kind of just gets bid up a bit for the time being, based on the close on Friday. My strategy doesn't really bode well for breakouts and in the middle of ranges. Like I said, I drew these lines up just to kind of have something to work with at these all-time high levels. These liquidity zones seem to be working out kind of nicely, so watching these areas for future price action for me is going to be pretty useful. But like I said, at all-time highs, I don't have a ton of information. I just have the previous session and now the overnight session for my decision making, right? So I'm using the divergences. I'm using the equities: Microsoft, Apple, Nvidia. These are the three names I'm going to watch. I don't really care. Meta did whatever it did, and it's continuing to rally now. Meta is just going to keep pushing high side. It says Alphabet, Amazon likely to follow Meta by introducing first ever dividends in 2024. So, I guess that's information that the market likes. But Meta really, after earnings, has been doing some good stuff. But price has not really reacted to it, so it's not that important. It's not as heavily weighted in the market cap. This is really important because Microsoft was the biggest name. Nvidia also trying to sell off some. And then Apple, like I said, at 188.18 level, still acting as that resistance. Like I said, if we get a pop up to it and a failure, then you could see that rotation to the downside. I also said that NVIDIA has been holding us up, so we're going to have to wait and see which way NVIDIA wants to go to see which move is actually going to be the right one. And then if you're looking over on the S&Ps over here, got right to that liquidity zone, right to the top of it, and has sold off from that top end there. This is a 30-minute, right? We've held below here. If you do get a confirmed failure here, we've been lagging and could rotate down. And also, like I said, we rallied. We based. Could we get all the way to this trend line once again to make a decision to go, one more leg higher? As of right now, I don't have any new information saying, hey, that markets need to go any higher, but also, any of the information that we got, the markets were going to go lower, market pushed up. So if we're just going to continue on this pace, we should probably base out, maybe rotate down a little bit into this zone, wick it, and then if you don't get a failure, you get another rotation. I mean, if you do get a failure, you get another rotation to the high side. So that's kind of what I'm looking at, longer term picture, for better opportunities looking forward. Like I said, I am not trading this because my zones are red to green here. I like to fade these extremes, or if we're going to play some sort of convincing breakout move with more volume, then I can use these levels to kind of give myself some confluence to execute on those trades. Price is just dead smack in the middle of these two, right? We are 100 ticks from that side and 110 ticks from that side. So exactly in the middle of the range. If you like your money and you don't want to play in the middle, then don't execute in the middle. That's what always gets me in trouble. This is a constant adjustment, right? Especially, with the short-term time frame. This would be more information. The longer the time that this does this, and the more touches we get on a certain area, the more this line actually becomes relevant. Until then, it's really just there as a guide, just for me to observe and see, and maybe later on, like I'll notate. Last time the wedge broke, it did this. Last time the wedge went that way, it failed to break out. It rotated to the downside. It flushed the bottom end of the wedge. And then I could add that to my playbook as I see that happening within the market conditions at that time, right? Because sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I'm just kind of, it's almost like forward testing, back testing, but I just keep mental notes and then I'll write it, possibly like some of these notepads on here. I just write random stuff down as the day goes. I just have random pieces of paper, right? Like things that I have where I have ideas, I kind of just write them into my head. I don't necessarily have to go and look at those writings. That's been my thing as far as learning is concerned for pretty much my whole life, where I'm more of a listener, an observer, some more hands-on type stuff. And then if I do write stuff down, I very rarely have to go back to look at what I wrote. I kind of just write it into a book, which sort of writes it into my head, which is a very weird way to think about it, but I don't ever really go back to look at what I wrote. It helps me viscerally feel that I actually executed on something. And then I have that, that event of me, whatever I wrote. And then if I really need to know a number or how many times it worked out, maybe I'll go look at that. But for the most part, if I wrote it a few times, it means it probably is doing something that I need to be paying attention to. And it never really happens exactly the same way every single time. So it's something that I want to be able to pay attention to and to execute what I see that's happening at the time, and not necessarily base it off of exactly what happened last time. It's more just information gathering. So that's what I feel like helps a lot of people. If you could just not necessarily journaling only your trades that you take, but writing down or notating or taking screenshots of setups that you think may be important for you in the future, or things that interest you within a daily, area, right? I drew up this zone, right while I started the stream from the overnight stuff, right? And I mentioned that I wasn't going to execute a trade off of it right away, right? We could have right here and, done all right. But realistically, I wanted to see how much this level actually played out during market hours, because a lot of that, overnight stuff is very, illiquid. There's not a lot of information coming from that session. So, but it does provide you guidance moving forward for the rest of the week. So I use that level now that it's acted as the way it has now. It's very important to me, right? There's a low volume node in there. There's a high volume node in there. There's information that I gather from this zone. Then now later on, maybe even later on today, or at some point, during the week, this zone may come back for me to execute off of. But I understand why I put it there. I didn't put it there for immediate execution. I put it there for observing, learning more information about what that price action is going to do around there, and then I'll execute on it at another time. Like these levels here, they're a little bit further out there. They've been observed a bit more, but not much, right? Because we're at these overnight highs. I mean, these all-time highs. So you got to bounce off of it, I might need to adjust it a little bit because this bounce play happened here. So, as price does certain things at certain levels, I will adjust just to give myself just that much more information, that much more of something that I can work off of later on. You can see, right, like early on this thing started to wedge out, didn't really do anything within that red wedge. Yes, it might have broke to the downside and you had a little bit of a follow through on it, and then it rotated right through it. So it created a new wedge, and it's just like prices just doesn't want to escape this area of interest, right? You can see it on the 30-minute. You can see how much we've just stayed within this range. But like I said, if we can base here, continue until we get to where this trend line was, right? You see it here. You see rally, base, get to the trend line, rally, base, get to the trend line, shorter rally, base, fail the breakdown. That failed breakdown through the trend line gave you that explosive push to the high side, right? Now we're doing the same thing. We're basing, based on the way this chart looks, it may want to do this all day, even into probably the close, just based on the way this is acting. If it pushes down a bit, this is time correction. So that's how I learned it with the prop firm when I was trading equities. This would be considered a time correction, and let's call it this price correction, right? So you have a rally. You have it waiting. That's just based on time. Time ran out for it, and it decided to price correct. So price corrected right to the trend line, then rotated right off of it. That's like an extreme example of it, because a lot of times you'll see more of it after a good rally, and then you fail that. But this is break out of a liquidity zone, look for a new one, find it, execute a bunch of auctions on it, time correct, price is thinking about where it wants to go, gets to the trend line, and it pops. Time correct. I'm sure the moving averages, I don't have moving averages on my chart, but I'm sure they followed through. They caught up. They were probably expanded because you got a big move, right? A big move pushes the moving averages out, and then price catches up to the moving averages to this, and then it bounces off there. So the trend line acts more of like a moving average than it does. That's really what you're probably getting more of a reaction off of. Nvidia trying to push a little bit and then falling. Not a ton there. I forgot what I was gonna look for. Yeah. Price corrections. Rally, base, and repeat. Nvidia, rally, base, get some longs involved, stop them out, and then just continue on. Grab some more liquidity down here. Nvidia is just the never-ending bull run. So is this I'll ask you if this is more important or is this still valid? I'm going to say this is probably still valid. If this is a false breakdown, then the breakout happens. We observe the overnight high and see what happens over there, and then I can possibly see if I want to execute. Until then, this just gets me in trouble. This action here says, oh, well, I'm going to get long, and you're out. And no, I'm going to get short, and you get stopped. And then, you know, that's just how this price action wants to manipulate you. After last week, you need some rest within price, right? You know, last week from Tuesday around, I think, 1 o'clock, we grabbed the liquidity, right? Oh, didn't click the right button. Tuesday, let's see, right about here. We're in a 30-minute. There it is. Oh. All right. So this is Tuesday around 1:30 p.m. You see we grab the liquidity off this zone, right? False breakdown, breakout. Grab some, and then as we bounced off of here, we have not stopped being bid up since this 17,560 level. Bounce, rally, rally, rally. You need some sort of, you know, reprieve or a time correction or a price correction before you want to either continue on to the upside or rotate and break down. But until then, you don't have any information for you to want to be like, all right, you know, now's the time to execute, unless you're just really good at executing super scalpy entries at, you know, levels like this where you can enter here and here, you know, you're out at the bottom. But I don't, that to me doesn't maximize my reward potential and limit my downside. So I'm going to sit on my hands until that happens. I think if anybody else is really interested in anything here, I think that's the best bet is to probably sit on your hands at the moment. Maybe if this, so this kind of is an irrelevant bottom at this point. It's really the more important thing is these two zones here. This is where prices stayed. And then even really the bottom, this blue line here is the bottom of the opening range, right? So if we opened here, we sold off, that was our first minute, right, in this range. So if you kind of can see that fail, then that rotation down to that 18,000, that's going to be that watchful, be mindful of this level type of move, because any sort of flush here might just lead to that kind of thing. Because over here, we didn't get that real explosive move after the break of it. You know, in the first part you did, but then now we're just kind of sitting right on top of that opening range high. This is all the information that I'm trying to just gather while the price is just bouncing back and forth and back and forth. Like, there's really nothing to me giving me any real good information, any real good indication of where it wants to go yet. You know, the only thing that does, you know, my bias a lot right now based on purely just macro events and everything that's been going on, I have a negative bias. S&P's actually just broke that opening range low and they're rotating lower right here. If this is diverging, if this is already still at the opening range high and it's still kind of trying to push up a little bit, if it wants to catch up to the S&P's, watch it at the bottom. Watch it to rotate to the bottom, I should say. If NVIDIA breaks, then you get the follow through. So there you go, right down to the bottom end of that opening range. Is that a liquidity grab? Or is it a catching up to that S&Ps? The delta is pushing down, so it's a confirmation that price wants to push. You didn't make new lows. More coffee. More coffee. Thank you.
Welcome.
Coffee.
Cheers.
This is less likely to be good and something more that's not going to I don't need anything to draw. It's just this zone here. We're gonna do that. Like I said, my bias is more short. I would have loved to execute on these shorts here and have taken it to the downside. I'm just standoffish based on the way the market has just been purely just growing and growing legs and growing legs. I just don't enjoy that. One thing that's kind of working to my idea here is this fear greed index. We are sitting at extreme greed. At any moment, the market could break to the downside because everybody and their grandmas are saying, let's go buy. Nvidia's great. I think that means shorts are building in and building in and building in and building in. Longer term shorts, longer term bigger players. They're building into some short positions and potentially could get this thing to eventually roll over. Obviously not yet. We're not quite there yet. You made a new low right here, right? But you can see the divergence in Delta. Delta pushed down, new sellers. Price was pushing down. Great. We got this level, we bounced. You got a good bounce. Now we broke that low in price. We broke this low in price. Delta did not make a new low. It actually stopped at the low here from this low. So now, is this a confirmed breakdown? I don't think so. I think it's more of a liquidity grab because buyers stepped in real quick and started to bid this thing up right at opening range low. And now be mindful of this upside move. You got S&Ps that pushed down, but then gave you this little wick off bottom on the 30 minute, right to the bottom end of its little range. And now it's trying to accept back into the opening range. You know, like this is the 30 minute NASDAQ waiting. I said we could probably chop around like this until we hit off on that trend line. So this is really where we're at. I have no positions on. I'm flat. I have no entry ideas until we get to the 18,000 level. I will look for this type of setup with Delta, but I want it at the low. I want to maybe flush 18,000, set off some stop orders, then rotate it back through and try and get to that high. If you get it to break and then sit below this zone, you get something like a basing pattern where you want to rotate down, then I'll be mindful of that crack there. That could be the break of the trend line. So if that trend line, the downside trend line breaks and confirms and holds, then that short bias will re-enter. Until tomorrow, we're going to get, tomorrow at what time? 9 in the morning, right? For CPI? Yeah. Tomorrow morning, pre-market, inflation data. You probably just get a lot of this sideways action until then. What is this? I don't know who TunePay is. Okay. I'm not going to click that. Day trading coffee company. Just looking for something here. If you notice that delta divergence, right, that I talked about, you know, the more you use the delta, the more you kind of get a feel for if it's actually working for you or not, right? All night last night you get a lot of flat delta because there's not a lot of liquidity. There's not a ton of orders going off in that overnight session. Right now, during our actual market session, we have pretty much congruent delta up, congruent delta down. You make a new high, you don't make a new high, you continue to rotate down. I use it, like I said, as a divergence idea. So right here, we did not make that new delta low. So therefore, there are not new sellers piling into the short after it broke this level. So that's telling me that buyers kind of want to step in and hold it up for the time being. And there's no information telling me to go short. I don't want to short that if it's going to be a delta push higher, because I know buyers are stepping in where sellers should be stepping in to continue it, right? If it was going to continue, sellers would step in and delta would be congruent. So the same thing on the high side, right? You look to make a high here. You look to break above this. You don't quite. You wick it. You try to push again. As you're trying to push a high again here, you can see Delta's rolling over right here. This happens in real time, right? So it's not like I'm showing you something that didn't. I told you about it when it was happening, right? I said, oh, price is pushing up, but Delta looks like it's kind of trying to roll over, so you could possibly look to. I wasn't looking to short it, but you can understand that sellers are going to come in here. So now we're going to watch it here, right? If we get another lower high, which it doesn't look like. It looks like buyers want to kind of step in above here. So if newer buyers, you get a stronger Delta push, watch it. Watch that push. Watch that thing make a break. If you guys are in here and it's your first time, or if you've been in here in and out in the past, I appreciate you coming in. We're going to try and get the stream up to 25 viewers. Obviously, when I get it up to as many as possible, but right now, the first milestone is that 25 viewer mark. If I get to that 25 viewer mark any day this week, we're going to give away 1 free month of TradeCaster to somebody who follows some simple rules, just to make sure that you're actually here and not just sitting in the room, somewhere else and just waiting for it. So I'll set up a few rules once it comes down to it. We hit 25 streams. I will send the boss man your email and your username information, and you will get 1 whole free month of TradeCaster where you could access everybody, the full suite. If you're in here on a free trial, you have access to that full suite, so you'll keep that access for a whole month. Hopefully that month you can get a couple trades and pay for a lifetime membership and never have to worry about it again. Deck is actually doing a giveaway too. So if you're a member now, he's giving away a really nice suite of things for you to, try and capitalize on stock market stuff. So I would be very mindful of taking advantage of whatever he's giving away as well, to kind of pair everything together and work with this awesome platform that we have here on TradeCaster. A lifetime membership. Let me pop it open. Let me see if I can get it. Here's the memberships. Lifetime is $3,000. So yeah, obviously, do a lot of people have that right here, right now? No, I think Deck's actually giving some sort of discount with the lifetime, annually, right there, and monthly is $174. So the giveaway of a month, save yourself $174 for a month. If you're already a member and you win the free month, I'll message Deck and make sure he gives you that 1 free month for you, or prorate something on an annual basis as well. So realistically, if we can get somebody to come in here, get a free month, get a free trial, we call out a good trade, or teach you a little bit about how to work your own trades, build your own strategy, then you could potentially pay for a membership in one or a few good trades, right? Last week, I had a $600, a $700, a couple $200 days, pay for these memberships kind of pretty handily. Obviously, this for anybody is a stretch, especially if you're in a room looking to grow. Everybody in here is not likely to have that on the jump, especially if you want to maximize your trading capital. I'm going to guess that you would be in this range here, somewhere down here. But this is, it's going to give you everything that you need. And like I said, we're going to try and give away that 1 free month so we can help you guys benefit from everything that you get with TradeCaster without having to break the bank. And hopefully, like I said, during that free month, you can get some really good information, some good insight, and you'll be able to, pay for that membership and moving forward with some of the profits you make in some of the rooms, whether it be mine, whether it be Deckmars, whether it be AK-47, yeah, buddy, any of those guys, you should be able to make some money with these people and, see the value of the community that we try to bring together. I like TradeCaster over YouTube. I'll be free for a long time. So even if you have a free membership, you see me, you can get in. That Delta divergence there was a really good idea for trying to think about this being a long, potentially to rotate through if it can hold this. But based on what we've been seeing, I would be quick to, if you have more than one contract on, shed some at that VWAP area and then see if you can get the follow through now. S&P is also trying to push to the high side too, high end of their opening range, right? But that's also to the high end of the top of this basing pattern. So, like I said, today could just be a breather day after a full week of just nonstop bids being hit on from Tuesday at 1:30, pretty much all the way through Friday. So right now we're just in breather, indecision, wait for CPI, inflation data and stuff like that for tomorrow. So JKDML. I hope you saw the membership information. If not, I'll post it in there for you. Just let me know. There you go. Post the pricing in there just so you guys have an understanding of the value of any sort of giveaway that we do here. Yeah, no worries. Like I said, my stream, if you're in here, if you're into futures, if you're into understanding like a little bit deeper than just pure price action, because like a lot of times I say I go into, correlations between these NVIDIAs and I try to find who's the leader on the day. I try to give you some information as far as why price is probably going to do what it's doing at those levels, and then give you a good idea on to where you want price to end up and where you want to execute and where you kind of want to just stay out. Other than that, I like to provide levels. I like to provide my ideas that will kind of let you base whatever your bias, whatever your trade plan presents to you at those levels. And then maybe, if your idea is a long and mine's a short, we could still both make money, but having the knowledge of the levels and understanding what the level kind of says about the price is kind of what I'm here to do. I don't want to be a signal service. I want to be able to just tell you, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is what I see. This is the information that we're being provided. And if you're a breakout trader and I'm somebody who looks to fade, you could possibly take a breakout and profit before I even get in onto my fade, and I could fade it afterwards and be profitable. So I just like to provide the information as we move forward. And then I also, like I said last week, I have my son around. I have a job. I have another company. I do a lot of different things, and I want to show you that you can trade, you can make money, you can be profitable, you can do things like this with a real life. And then everybody wants to see the Lambos, the Ferraris, the big houses, the nice cars, the flashy money things. But the process is really where, if you don't like the process of it, then you're not going to succeed long term, because it's just even like days today, you'd probably want to just grind it out, get some money. And it's just impossible to sustain that kind of mentality on it, because it's just not, it's not real life, right? Most people got into this to obviously make money, have a better life. But if you simplify it down and enjoy the process, then the work of it feels fun. There's trying to understand the dynamics of the market is fun to work out, and then from there you can kind of build a strategy off that and make money. And also, like I said, know when to stay out if you're distracted, and know when to get in when you're not. Like Friday when I had my son around, I took some executions and I got out of trades a little quicker than maybe I would have liked, but I took my money from it and I walked away, and then I took care of what I needed to take care of there. So kind of what I want my stream to develop into is people trading like real life, understanding the dynamics of working around what you have going on at home, what you have going on at work, working, and if trading is the only thing you have and you make a ton of money doing it and that's all you want to do, that's great. But a lot of people that I see in the industry that have had some really good success, they're also trying to put their hands into other things, because, trading is great and you're going to make good money on it. You could do really well. And if you enjoy the process, then it's fun. But also you need to, like I said, I only trade from 8:30 to 11 for most days. You have the whole rest of the day to kind of use those profits and use that ability to either enjoy your family, start up a company, build a brand, have another job if you really want to have another job. If this is your escape from the job thing, or you want to just go enjoy your day, make it so it's you're able to enjoy your day and build a life around it. And that's really what we're trying to do here in this room. We're not trying to sit here all day, clicking buttons just to click buttons. We want to execute on a good plan and, work around our life schedule. So that's where I'm at with it. I bring it all up because I'm trying to keep myself out of diddling in the middle, right? You can see NVIDIA trying to break out again. So price is trying to push up. I did mention that Delta divergence to kind of be mindful right here. Price pushed down. Delta did not make new lows, so price rejected it pretty handily. It was really never a threat to roll over from here. Once you came up into here and you retested this and sat on that 20 level, the long idea of rotating off the bottom and then maybe maximizing your gains to this top side. But also, if you put on more than one contract, maybe shedding one or shedding a couple and then letting the rest of it kind of play out to see if you do get the follow through, because we haven't followed through at all yet once today. Everything has been failure. I wouldn't be surprised if this wicks here and fails again, but I also wouldn't be surprised if it rallies and never stops, because that's what price has been doing lately. And the way NVIDIA is just breaking out and rotating to the highs, there's no telling how high this could go. Microsoft bouncing off that 416.50-ish level, but it's still holding the low, so it's not quite going to push us up. And then Apple failed that 188.18 once again, and then now we're just sitting on the lows. So the only thing propping us up is NVIDIA, as it has been for the last 2 weeks to a month. Look for that failure again, possibly, because if NVIDIA is the only thing that's holding up, probably rotate back to the bottom half. My plan only calls for us to trade the extremes of the range from the overnight, at least, is where I start to get interested. Just because price hits this green line doesn't mean I'm going to take a short immediately. I'm not going to set a limit order here and just wait mindlessly for it to get triggered and run me over through the all-time highs, and then I just take my loss, right? Same thing at the bottom. If sellers start to pour in at the overnight low and burn me, I don't just set my limit order just because I have a level there. I want to see those levels. I want to observe what happens to price as it gets to here. Where does it possibly slow down, right? Because, it could even front run it. It could stop at 55, right? Because even though we ticked off here twice, if we want to roll over, we may not want to clean that up. We might want to do, something just before it. So I start to watch. I start to get interested. Then I start to look for a setup. I start to see, does price push through? Does it give me a hard wick off? What kind of price action? That's why I watch the 1 minute, because I like to see the ideas, the behavior of the candle at the level, and I could see that happening within this 1 minute candle, where I could see, okay, we kind of manipulated there, we rotated through, and now we're going to rotate down, or we get that delta divergence, right? We push up once, you get a nice body into it, maybe it fails it, you rotate down a little bit of a sell side, get to a high volume node, you pop off of it, you don't quite make a new high, maybe not even quite a double top, delta doesn't even play along at all, rotates. That's the kind of setup I'm looking for at those levels. But until it gets there, right, like today's high, we just didn't quite make that 51, right? Maybe somebody was front running it, maybe there's some size there to front run that, but I didn't. No centering, right at 51 there's a pretty decent sell order there. You can see on the DOM there's a bigger size up top. So if that breaks, if that 50-25 breaks the seller here, then you might get that whippy action, and then look to see if there's another seller above there, right at 55s. There's nobody at that overnight high right now, but potentially there could be. They seem like they're front running it a little bit, right? There's a few asks all the way up. It's either profit taking right on the way up, or new sellers trying to get involved in that short. But this guy right here, this big order sitting there at 50, now it's moving 49, 50. So there is somebody here sitting on the ask. Those are something that you got to be mindful as well, right? Some larger orders, maybe people are trying to front run it. I did also, I know I'm a futures trader. I do all this. I have traded pretty much every single vehicle that everybody kind of goes through. I started in Forex. That's why the name is Pips and not Ticks. I started in FX. I did that for a few years. I built a foundation within that. I did pretty well, but like I didn't like the manipulation in it. I didn't like the spreads. I didn't like all that. So I ended up switching over to futures, started to dabble in it. I liked it, but then I got into the, I started in 2017. So as 2020 started to come along and you start to see that craze into the equities. So I rolled into the equities, started to try and learn options, did all that stuff. Ended up getting hired on by Maverick as FX trader. I kind of worked with them for a little bit. Like I said, I kind of didn't like the scamminess of the FX world, although Maverick was fantastic and they did a really good job with education, platforms and all that stuff. So I have no issues with them. Came back to futures. Then I went and I got my SIE in Series 57 and I started trading prop with equities for T3. I learned a lot, by getting my licenses and understanding some of the equity stuff and, a lot of the manipulation and regulations. You learn to trade prop. You learn how some of those prop traders think, and they're trading some pretty big size. We had a nice little room that we worked with. T3 was fantastic as well. You still need to provide some capital, so that's really kind of what held me back within the equities. For me to trade equities correctly, I needed more money to do it correctly, and just my story is a little convoluted. But I moved a bunch, so spent a lot of money on moving costs and not a lot of money on trading accounts. So I went back to futures, and I really kind of developed a really good relationship with the Nasdaq, the S&Ps, and the ability to trade futures on a day-to-day basis with using prop firms and leveraging their money, like Top Step. I've had no issues with Top Step at all. I've traded on and off with them for, like I said, since I started with the future stuff, and they've grown as a company. I don't have any sort of affiliation with them yet. I would like to, talk to them about working with my coffee company, because I do want to provide portions of my profits to fund underfunded traders. And I think by partnering with Top Step, partnering with some of these prop firms, even if I don't, I'm still going to do the giveaways where I pay for people to get into combines with a portion of the profits of the coffee. So the more we sell of the coffee, the more combines, the more accounts we give away. And like I said, in the future, I wouldn't hate partnering with a brokerage and getting people into some cash accounts, more of like a holiday giveaway type deal where I can get into partnerships with those people. So you saw that seller kind of broke there, and then the S kind of disappeared, but now it's moved up to that 55. I think it might be more profit taking on the way up. So let's just be careful. We're gonna start to observe this here, but back into the futures world. I just love the futures, the way you're able to leverage stuff, and you kind of just know your risk and you know your reward, and once you have an idea of contract sizing and tick size and all that, you can really maximize your abilities to make money. And it's it's more of the day that you could trade. Like if you really wanted to be able to trade overnight and stuff like that, you have the opportunity. All right, we're approaching into my area of interest, right? I would like, to see what happens at this overnight high now. If we just break it and continue to run and we get through that all-time high, so be it. We're not going to get a short out of it. I also am not going to get a long out of it probably, because I'm not going to chase a long after that. But price hasn't totally corrected to that trend line, so I'm not convinced on the long quite yet either. The only thing I could say for the long purposes is that we did have a nice long accumulation phase here. So the accumulation, if we do get a breakout, usually it'll probably be the first breakout usually fails. So we haven't really broke down yet. We've supported here. Support. Didn't get that third touch to try and break down and get any false longs involved. So the push up to the high to me sort of tells me that they want to maybe grab some liquidity at these levels to try and rotate it down and then correct us a little bit further before we get to so there's a big seller here at 57. I don't know if it's going to be run over or if somebody's going to front run it. Just be mindful of it. I am going to try and get on 2 contracts at whatever level I do. I'm not going to add on to my order. I'm just going to come in with the full size to start. So two full contracts, whatever happens at the levels, we're going to be mindful of it. This obviously, you could see that this worked out, right? This false breakdown, delta divergence, push up, break this trend line and push to the highs. I want to see something like that the other way. And by the other way, I mean I want to break these highs, give me like a wick off top. And like I said, I want to see some sort of divergence. Maybe it fails it, comes down a bit, tries to come through it again, or maybe comes close to it. If we get a tweezer top type setup, I would like to get it to be short. I would get 1 contract off at the value area high, which would be right here. And then I would like to try and keep that other runner on as long as possible. Just based on price wanting to kind of just stay range bound after a long run up last week. S&Ps aren't quite getting towards their highs. They are pushing through that resistance level. So I think that the NASDAQ should push up a little bit further just because that S&P is pushing, you can see, right? Push through that resistance over this high. S&Ps, if they don't fail and rotate over, the NASDAQ should catch up, right? Should probably break these levels there. Yeah, I want to see this thing wick. Maybe get a heavy long bias, which is starting to kind of tick up. It's about 60-something% long. S&Ps are just now pushing. It needs to get up. If it wants to get through those all-time highs, then I think possibly the NQ will follow through. Still flat, still no position on, still just observing at our levels, but we are now coming into a zone where we are interested. I always click that instead of this. Nvidia broke the high and is not quite pushing through. Microsoft bouncing off that level. Apple coming right up to that 188.18. So we're going to watch it, see what happens around here. Maybe it'll get up a little higher. We'll push into that probably all-time high level. That's probably more likely than just breaking here because I feel like the break of this overnight high now will probably get us a little bit into that level there. So let's watch it. I did mention down here the long was probably the spot for that long. We talked about why with the delta divergence and everything, and now I'm at a level where I'd be interested in a short. However, I need something to tell me further that a short wants to be involved because delta's pushing through, price is pushing through, S&Ps are pushing up, Apple's bouncing, Nvidia is at its highs and just sitting there, but it has a slight red candle, but it could easily just continue to break out. Microsoft also bounced off the 416.50 level and is starting to rotate to highs. So Microsoft being on lows, rotating to highs, it has a lot of room to carry us up. Nvidia being on its highs has no bearing on anything because it just continues to rip at all times. So I have it's at all-time highs. It's going to continue to rip, it seems like. So, I don't have anything there. Apple is my most interesting because it's on lows as well. But if it holds below, then you can possibly look to see it rotate once again back down. If it holds above and rotates above, all-time highs get broken and we kind of carry us up, right? Apple and Microsoft are more so carrying this because Nvidia, being the rocket ship that it is just going to continue to push, like rally. It is holding this market up completely. And if you ever get any sort of news that says Nvidia is doing something it shouldn't, and you get a melt on this, look out below for everything. I'm telling you. Nvidia's been the market maker, man. Yeah, this is why I don't just set a limit. at my level because I expect, since we're so close to these highs, I mean, S&P's just made new all-time highs again, so S&P's made new all-time highs. NASDAQ didn't yet follow. Delta's congruent, just straight line up. So we are still hands off, but we are interested, right? Now that we're interested, this is where I start to get more involved in looking at the divergences, looking at price action, looking at what I want to see happen. And then from there, we will go and try and execute something that makes sense. S&P is breaking highs. All-time high, S&P, Microsoft, Meta pumping, NVIDIA continuing its pump. 800 is not out of the realm of possibility for a fucking NVIDIA, man. That's crazy. Look at this. Look at this thing, NVIDIA, man. Look at NVIDIA. Look at that. Entire 2024 has just been a straight line to the upside for NVIDIA. Microsoft could run into a little bit of resistance here up into the bottom end of that wick at 1456-ish, 60. If it cracks that, then possibly look to see it rotate back up to that 420-ish level. I think the lack of follow through on this breakout above the all-time high, of the overnight high, gives me a little bit of hope that my short fading idea may come into play. It's just a matter of getting it to set up. I need to fail this level a bit. Part of my rules also is I do not enter a trade within 5 minutes of an hourly close. So as we approach the 10 o'clock hour, if we get to 9:55, I will not enter, just purely based on the way price starts to move in that 10 to 10:30 area. Or any hourly close, you get a little bit of wiki action. So Delta's congruent here. We're pushing down, price pushing down, Delta pushing down. We sat right on top of that overnight high. So to see me get a setup here, I can't just enter on that, right? I need to see it fail again, maybe try to make a new high, and Delta continue to push down. Then I'll look to enter short through our zone, through our overnight high, and try to rotate down, right? That's where I'm looking to see if I can get some of that move to happen to be a failed breakout of the overnight high. Delta is pushing down, price is not pushing down, so you're starting to get that little bit of a setup. If I can get a couple more minutes of a push up, but not 5 more minutes, it'd be great. I don't know, because S&P is still breaking those all-time highs, and this price it's playing with me a little bit, I feel like. Microsoft running into that resistance. Like I said, I need to see Apple at that 188.18 to 20 level. We are pushing higher here. Once again, this is why, like I said, I do not just enter on the first break of it, or I don't set a limit order at this zone, because, realistically, for account size purposes, even one mini, even if I was trading some micros, if I just ran like 2 micros on here and then ran my stop up here, it's easy. This market could easily just do what it did on Friday and just break the all-time high and run up 20 points, and then without any hesitation, right? So for me to set a limit at right here at the overnight high for price to just come through here, my thought process is probably wants to touch off on that all-time high, especially since the S&Ps, which is a more broad index, did in fact break those highs and is still holding above those highs. So there's that divergence there as well, that it wants to go there, and this is still too much of a hold above here. S&P's is 60% long. So it's like a congruent. It's not very heavy long, so it's still like a good amount of buyers there. You can see this wick trying to grab some more. I really need to see what Apple's going to do here, and Microsoft as well. Seems like it still wants to push up. I said if it does kind of break through here and break into that 50s, 60 area, then you probably do get a full, push up into this big body red candle here, which is, bottom of there, 420-ish. And if you continue to get that, and you continue to get this NVIDIA thing ripping, there's that push. You're gonna get that all-time high break. S&P's is just on a mission right now to continue rally. So I don't trust this to roll over yet. So we're gonna be watching this. I'm gonna take away this wedge pattern that broke out. If you're a breakout wedge, pattern trader, that was a really good trade that you could have executed off these levels, just purely based on the failed breakdown here, delta divergence, break of that wedge, like a lot of confluence there. Plus Microsoft and Apple being on lows and bouncing, and NVIDIA breaking highs. So, these are things that you got to watch. And if you don't want to watch them and you like to hear about it while I'm streaming and stuff and I'm talking through everything, stick around, tell your friends, tell your family, anybody who wants to trade this NASDAQ or S&Ps or anything like that. I'll continue to talk out what I see in the equities that may be driving these prices, right? So now our all-time high level is cracked. It's broken. We have S&Ps on that mission to continue to rally. We did not. So let's see. Do I have a trend line here? Not really. Rally base, rally base, rally base. So we didn't. My big concern right now is that we didn't quite make it to the full correction. I don't know what the moving averages will tell me because I don't have them. Let me see if I have them on here. The 8 and the 21. So it kind of stayed pretty tight on the 30 minute. So I guess price pretty much caught up to that level. We broke through it. Now we're ripping from it. So VWAP for the week. Nothing doing. Yeah. All-time highs. Momentum breakout. We're within that 5-minute time frame where I can't execute a trade for the next 5 minutes. That hourly close especially is super important to me. Because realistically it's the next 6 minutes or 5.5 minutes, but now that we're pushing all-time high, I don't have a setup for myself. So like I said, that's why I don't just set limits at my zones. I want to watch them. I want to observe. I want to see what's going to happen. And like I said, if the overnight high kind of gets broken, I'm guaranteeing that the all-time high does, and it did. So now we're just pushing to the high side. Once again, like I mentioned, there's probably going to be that continued buying pressure for a little bit of while. So, like I said, if I can't... How long do I have that? Not that long. Okay. Like I said, if I can't enter the next 5 minutes, I'm going to take 2 seconds. I'm going to run, and I will be right back to give you some analysis. I want to let this thing digest up until 10:05-ish. So give me a second. right, we're back. Sorry about that for a few minutes. We are still looking to see if we can catch some sort of divergence here. Kind of looking at it up here. If you can't get this thing to break out and follow through, potentially looking to get this thing to roll over. Not like a long-term roll. Price correct. Push up. Price correct. Fail. Break down. Limit your risk. See if we can there's that push. Delta didn't quite make new highs. Price not making new highs. See if we can get this thing to roll over a bit now. What do we got as far as, we got that close, so NVIDIA looking like it's giving a little bit of a sell. Give this a couple minutes to digest. Ooh, my keyboard is too jammed in here. Gotta change this. Microsoft, like I said, probably push up into that 420-ish range, so be mindful of that. Apple, rotating once again off that. NVIDIA, Google, really not that important. Meta, not really that important, but we're going to watch it. Microsoft. Video, Apple, and DXY. DXY kind of rotating. We're kind of playing the same game here, which is very interesting. Usually they diverge a bit. VIX popped up a bit, which is interesting too because it was at such low levels. So the volatility looked like it, volatility is going to increase a bit. So watch it. I want maybe one more break up. And we can see if this thing will want to fail this again. So that's a really good delta push down. I want to accept this a bit. Maybe push into here one more time. Try and limit my risk on the high side to the 80s. And then look to get some contracts off as I move down. But may have missed that. But I'm going to be patient with it. We're at a low volume node. I want to see the thing maybe push up again one more time before I get this entry. I didn't quite want to see it break there. There we go. Push up. I wanted to push up into here, 76s, and then wherever the high is on this push up, then that will probably be my stop. Unless it's like ripping. I want to see it really push up, but fail to, like if price even pushes all the way up into that 79-ish range, 79.80, and doesn't quite make it higher than this little piece here, it doesn't even have to be that, like right there, that delta information for me. It's just important. So this is the kind of idea we want to try and execute on. That's the fading of the extreme, right? A stop run, another stop run, maybe look to get one more stop run in here, get some sellers involved. I want to see if there's actually anybody up here. There is a seller at 76, 129, 76. So front run this maybe, throw a sell order in at 76. You could limit yourself to the highs. I might just wait till it hits off on 76 and then I'll just play that as a continue play down to the downside. But it disappeared, so they pulled it. That order is no longer there. Kind of spoofed a little bit. It's up higher at the 20s. It's kind of moving up a little. 80, 75. So yeah, that liquidity zone there. There's some sellers that want to kind of be in there. So I'm going to wait till it gets up in there. You can see Delta's still on this low here. If it tries to push up anywhere into that 80 range, 80, 76 to 80, right? There's a bigger seller there. Nvidia's trying to make low, break down a little bit, but gets bid right back up. You can see it on the 1 minute. Come on, one more push up. And then we'll get involved. I wanted to push up one more time. Maybe not. Maybe I'll just put a sell order right here. 67s. And risk to 80s. It's too much. Too much risk there. For me, personally. I want this to pop off one more time. I still see this seller here at 76. He keeps coming back. Get back up into there. Being patient, being patient, being patient. I wanted to see if it'll peek its head above 76 or get to 76. If it gets up there, then I will put my stop order down below this high, this white line, and then rotate that next push down to the downside as the actual push to the downside. If this is where it flushes, then I'm kind of just sitting on my hands a bit. Maybe I'll go one contract in and just see if I can catch some of it. Because one contract here risking to there is still not a ton of risk, 250 with that first target being that zone there. It's all about timing. Trading is about timing. You can be right all day, every day, and then just execute like shit and not be able to make any money, right? So we're working on trying to be good at timing, being patient, letting this set up completely before executing, because then we can maximize our thought on it, right? Like there's so many sellers at 75. There's 200, 230. It wants to get there, so let's see if it pops 75 and what happens at 75. If you get a rip on it, there we go. Did it disappear? That's how I would limit my risk there. I'll take one off when I see price get near a zone. If we get filled, S&P's is still pushing up. It's the only thing that I really don't like because it's been sort of leading. But Nvidia is starting to try and roll a little, right? Nvidia looks like it wants to kind of maybe break through this little shelf piece, push down to 735 maybe even. If we can get that to act in congruence, then we can get this thing to follow through. But Apple now catching a little bit of bid. Microsoft, not. Might set one buy order down here, one contract. Nah, I'm gonna leave that. I'm gonna see what happens at that level first before I put a buy order in there. Really, it would be about right there for the first one off. Front run that a little bit. So still not, price is pushing up. You're not getting a huge push in the delta. So, if you start to get this thing to rotate a little bit, even if we push up a little higher and kind of start to hold there, I'll move the stop order to just below 70, just to kind of catch a couple more ticks on it, another couple $100 or so. I enter and I try to get stopped into my orders. I don't mind getting a slight slippage on a hard flush because I know that the price is going to go in my direction. It's a little bit different with equities. I like to get filled exactly in equities because every cent matters to me. I do like every tick does eventually matter in this, but I'm really with the futures. It's so much zone type action that I really like to take things based off of the zone, and a couple ticks here and there don't kill the trade completely, right? That's just kind of how it goes. I have it below here because it's in the low volume node, and I think if it does only come down to 68s, it could still rotate and pop back to the high side. So like I said, I'm not, I don't really care too much about this 70 bucks. I want to be confirmed in. I want this thing to push harder to the downside. Give me a good confirmation that we're actually going to rotate down. Because now like this is acting as almost like a support, this little wedge here, right? That trend line. So if it cracks that, should give you a harder push to the downside. You know what? Yeah, I'll go in below here. Right there. 69s. 69s. If we get triggered, we let it play out and we see what happens. There we go. We're triggered in. We're short 2. Got the divergence, got the delta to play along with us. We stopped in. We got no heat on it to start. Let's see if we can continue to flush to the downside. We need the equities to kind of play along with us. We were super patient today. We let the price get to where we wanted it to get to before executing. So now if we can get NVIDIA to start to roll, get down to that 35s, we should probably be able to get at least one contract off, limit our risk, and then see what we can do with that other contract. So I'm going to see if we flush down through that 59. If we can get, once whatever happens at 59s, I'm going to probably either mark it out or I'll put this limit up a little higher and see if it'll get filled. Just because there's a higher volume shelf here that potentially, if we don't break through here, we won't get filled. But realistically, we executed on our plan. We waited. We were very patient. We kind of got our full setup here. We got the lower high. We got the divergence. We got Delta to push in our direction. We got NASDAQ. We got NVIDIA to try and play along. It is catching a little bit of a bounce. Microsoft is kind of pushing a little bit down. Apple still just sitting there. So NVIDIA needs to be the leader to the downside to help this continue to push. I really, that's where I want this to go. If it does shoot up and rocket off, then that's just, we were patient. We wait for our setup. We take the loss and we move on. But right now we're going to be slightly patient with it. We want to see if it'll break this low once again. 63s. If I could break through that 63 one more time, then possibly look to move to break even just to secure some of this. Starting to get a bid on this thing. Still being patient with it. Hopefully NVIDIA can start to roll over a bit from here. But if it doesn't, if NVIDIA takes off from here, then we will probably get stopped out because NVIDIA is the leader. We waited. We were really, really patient for this to set up. It just didn't, we stopped in. Hopefully it can continue to push down. We need NVIDIA to play the short game. Give me some profit taking out NVIDIA. I think our stop's in a fine location because really if it breaks above there, probably wants to rotate higher. Could this flush be happening here? Let's see. There's NVIDIA's little bit of a down tick. Hopefully it helps us out. Delta does not want to move up higher, right? Another push to the high. Delta only ticked up a little bit. So hopefully we can get some sellers to come in here. Remember I said that seller was at 76. So maybe he's trying to get filled a pretty big order there. Hopefully that's what would happen there with that wick. And we can kind of rotate down now through. I would love to get through that overnight high. And then if we could accept into that overnight high zone, the rotation to the other end is more possible. Like I said, a lot of times on fading extremes, that VWAP is my first target. So that's what we're looking at too. So come on now, we can get this failure a bit, and then we should be able to mitigate some of this. Trail our stop some, maybe take one contract off at the overnight high. But I'll if I see that, because last week I kind of got screwed where I didn't get filled by a single tick and rotated out and gave me a loss on it when I could have secured some profit. So I might mark it out one contract at 59.50, but that's just depending on how price action's going. At this point, I'm in the trade, so kind of doesn't matter what NVIDIA does. If it rockets to the moon, then I'm going to be stopped out anyway. So I'm in the trade. I'm managing the position. I'm trying to get that thing to play along a little bit. Doesn't seem like it wants to, but it did slow down a bit. Delta did play along. You know, everything was lining up for this to be a good location to try and take a short. But NVIDIA just gave a little pop too. So try not to talk myself out of. Yeah, I'm not going to look at these guys right now. I'm going to let it play. Buy the ticket, take the ride. I mean, we talked through the entire trade. We have the reasoning behind why we are short here, and we're kind of just floating around our entry point. I usually like it to follow through right away, but my voice is going away. Give me a second. I'm turning into Joey Diaz. Yeah, it does. Just wants to hold right here, right? That there's a volume node there. I did say there's a big there was a big seller here at 75, 76. Still kind of sitting there. There's a 45 lot there. That's a decent size. So if it does break through there, it could probably pop off. If it's going to get front run, then hopefully people will sell in front of it and continue to push us down. There seems to be a good amount of sellers there at 75. So if that breaks, you could get a pop. If it doesn't, if it holds and rotates down, you want to see that break that 65, right? Microsoft caught a little bit of a bid. Apple, not quite. There's the break at 75. Probably get stopped out on this one. NVIDIA, I'm not going to move myself. I'm going to leave it there. If it stops me out, so be it. There we are. We're out. Down 4. Took my shot at it. It is what it is. We're going to just look to see if the setup happens again. Oops. Yeah, that's right. Minus 430. Red. So you understand the reasoning behind why I took the shot there. I got the divergences that I wanted. Still kind of diverging, right? We're getting lower highs, lower highs, lower highs. You're trying to break out. You're not getting that follow through in the delta. If it comes back down through there again, I may look to short it one more time, just purely based on strategy, not quite on FOMO. Really just because you can get that follow through here and really pull it through to at least the VWAP. I'm not really looking to just jump right back in, but I would like to see this. Maybe this is a stop run here. A true good size position with a little bit less, risk to the high of the day to see if that'll, hold. But, I figured right there we were going to get wicked out. If we got ticked out there, it probably runs to the highs anyway. So just get ourselves out. This market just loves to get bid up. NVIDIA looking like it wants to tick down now. Maybe that's the stop run. I'll try one more shot at it here. I keep my stops very tight. I limit my risk. And if I take 2 in a row, then I'm done for the day anyways. That doesn't matter. I will look to grab this to be... I want NVIDIA to fail. I want NVIDIA to fail hard. And like I said, if I get stopped in, I want it to take really no heat. if it starts to come back against me, I'm probably going to cut it early. If it flushes really fast, fails, starts to push back up, I'm going to probably cut it above the high here. The initial stop is above where we got stopped before. And then we're going to look to see if we can rotate it down to the lows. But, you know, S&P is still working that way to the high side. Apple at the high end of this little range that it's in. So if it decides to continue to push up, then this probably, the price continues to probably push. Microsoft, Nvidia, break this low. Break the low. Yeah, 65 definitely, like I said, you can see the support there. You can see the volume node there at 65.50. If we do crack this high again, and if Nvidia does start to break through that 736.16-ish, this level here, then we can look to see maybe we'll follow through on this time. Like I said, it's all about timing. It's all about trying to get yourself involved at positions that your strategy is. This is what my strategy is. It's fade the extremes, get a divergence, try and get follow through with the equities on that side. S&P's is still kind of pushing to the high side, so I possibly anticipate this running up a bit more just based on it being the laggard. Slight divergence. If the S&P fails at all, the NASDAQ possibly follows. Yeah. It's a new lower high waiting on that break. Get rid of that. This is my better setup here. Lower high there. You can see that Delta buyers did not come in here. So the lack of buying up here where we got stopped out should get us to follow through on this push. If you're looking to break that right there for a breakout momentum play, could be something. I like the delta being just decreasingly positive as price is trying to be increasingly positive, right? That's what I play as far as divergence. But when you see Nvidia playing like that where it's holding, your follow through to the downside is going to be lacking because of the complete domination of that in the market. Apple, everything is kind of giving that tick up, but also it could be being pulled up by the futures, right? So it's like, which way is it going? But really it seems like wherever this goes, we go. S&P's, like I said, still pushing higher. I have my order here just as a, if it gets filled, it gets filled type deal. And I know American Trade looking to see if you can play the break of this. So if you're going to play that, see if what kind of target you're going to want to have. About 100 ticks from there. 95 in that range there possibly if you do break the highs up into here. There's that break above. Delta's now starting to push, so our setup is probably going to be invalidated unless that's just a wick off top there and grabbing some people. There's that high. There's that push up. There you go. There's that break that you were looking for, American. Hopefully you get that something off. If you're playing multiple contracts, 95s. 95s. I'd say 95 is the target. Gotcha. You looking to get it down into that 79 range and then try and go long from there? That's a strong breakout there. We are pushing towards the highs. Like I drew this line here. It's looking like it wants to break. So we took that one short on the attempt of, that lower high breakdown. Yeah, we got stopped out. That's just the setup that I have to take with everything at the extremes, at all-time highs, at the level. But As I mentioned before, the S&Ps and the NASDAQ are just in buy mode, so really that long bias still is in play. Flatten that, get rid of that contract so I don't have those up. We are 0 for 1 in our trade. We took an execution on our strategy at the extreme, tried to get that breakout, that failure of the breakout. Yeah, tomorrow is CPI, the inflation data tomorrow, pre-market. My anticipation with today, the reason I do also short this, right, is because with that inflation data coming out, with the rest day after that big run-up day on Friday, and since Tuesday, like I said, there was a good chance that this was going to just stay pretty much balanced for the day. Obviously not. It seems like buyers are just constantly coming in. Did call the long out down here, and it seems to be the bottom of the day, and you could have rallied and trailed out. Like I mentioned, with the divergence, I really wanted to see it down into this zone here, but never quite made it. Got the divergence, got the pop. You could have got one if say you had 2 contracts on, you could have got one contract off and been trailing pretty much, through here. The only question of if you would have got stopped is if you were quick with that second contract to get stopped here with that one. But I would have waited for that possible break of the VWAP, then had my VWAP as my stop. As we push up, go zone to zone, break the zone again. My stops kind of really wouldn't have taken me out probably until around up into that high, because I would have been targeting that overnight high, that all-time high too. So I would have liked this setup, this exact setup, just down here. One more little push to the downside. That's where I'm trying to fade that overnight high, that 18,000 key zone. They just kind of front ran it, held it here, and ran it to the high side. Once I kind of talked it out, should have realized that was probably the bottom of the range right there, but we're still rallying from there. I'm gonna look for another trade, see what happens. My youngest is gonna be with me in a few minutes, so I'm gonna be managing the kid and the trading room and trades. So we're gonna just try and execute on something that's worthwhile for me. Now, I guess my fade the extreme kind of setup is not going to have a zone to play, so I'm going to need to look for some sort of wick off top, some sort of new high, some sort of delta divergence where I can fade that level. It's not that much to me in this account with these combines that I'm running, because with the 100K account, your daily drawdown is $2,000. With the 50K account, it's 1,000. I've set rules in place where if I do 2 full losses, I'm done for the day. And then I'm going to look to go, because let's say this plays out, right? And I could actually get my good trailing rules in. With 2 contracts, you could be up double what I'm down, right? And I would be done. So then if I take my 1 full loss or 2 full losses and shut it down, I minimize my losing day, and then my winning days can kind of start to increase, and that moves you up and to the right with your equity curve. So it's down a good amount, but it's also not down like an overly sized loss, right? Most of my trades, I'm trying to only trade. So realistically, I like to come in with 1 and then add as the trade goes my direction. I probably would have got triggered in for an add and had a bigger loss. maybe a little. I probably would have mitigated and got triggered out after we came back to all-time high if I would have done the ad there. But realistically, coming in with 2 contracts, I knew my risk going in was going to be around 400, just based on my stop. So it's just a risk that I know I was going to have to take, and if I was going to get run over on it, you kind of just accept the loss to start, and then whatever you make on top of that is beneficial, right? So, if you already accept the loser before you take it, then you don't really get so mad about it, Oh, shit. I think it's a sharpshooter. Okay. 10:30. We got that Euro close, I guess, is all done. We are purely U.S. markets now. Nothing but breakouts. Nvidia not making new highs. S&P and the NASDAQ still giving you that big push up. Microsoft didn't make a new high either. Apple gonna try and push up to that 188.18. I'm gonna guess if we do break above here, you get that little follow through. If you fail that 188.18, that could be the time where the short actually comes into play. Like I said, Nvidia, fat finger, giving you a little bit of a double top kind of action there. But Nvidia's just been so strong. Microsoft now popping off. I think they're just following this. You can see this S&P 30-minute. Look at that thing. Crazy. Straight up. Once you broke here, you're in blue skies. This little resistance here was pretty much the only thing holding it back. Once it broke that all-time high, are we looking for 5,100? Is that what it's targeting at some point this week? I mean, that's just going to be a capitulatory top, right? So this is like you mentioned, Megan, like this is such a strong push breakout. I know you were trying to play this as a long and waiting for that retest, never quite came. It seems like any sort of breakout these days is playing out nicely. A lot of these setups are coming in, right? I had the same type of setup, just longer term here, and there just hasn't been that retest for the entry on the breakouts. Except for maybe right here, you could have said that that's like a retest, but really the breakout never really came with any force. So if this wick off gets you that entry there to rotate it up to the highs. I had that drawn up, I deleted it. Right here, you're getting that breakout. Momentum is just continuing to be strong. You can't fight it, right? Kind of got ran over there a little bit. Price moved in my direction, started to break the low. It did, everything that you wanted it to do until it came back and bit you in the butt, right? So, but that's just how trading goes. You get your full setup, you get your levels that you want to play. Sometimes price just does this. Not going to try and revenge. Not going to try and FOMO into this. Not going to try and just get long here now that everything is running. I'm just going to have to wait for something else to set up to tell me, hey, all right, we're going to need to maybe get like a rising wedge pattern that we want to break down. And then also get a delta divergence on it. We finally got delta to push up into that level there, which is not really significant to me at the moment. Delete that. This one is not important either. Patience pays. Sometimes patience gets you run over. Because we did mention it down here, but the only reason I didn't enter that is right. It was in the middle, completely in the middle of the zone that I look at to fade in any sort of a way, right? I don't like to play in the middle of a range unless I kind of anticipate that, oh, it's going to get to the other end of it, maybe potentially. I usually don't like to enter a round VWAP right away. It's a good target for me. Being above it is a good complement, so maybe this entry here was good. But for me, realistically, like I said, I'm a perma bear in this market that's just gonna keep getting run over, it seems like, at the moment. Makes it a little difficult for me, but I'm not gonna just try and execute on something that doesn't make sense to my strategy. Didn't get the full correction. Base false breakout 73s. Okay, I'm gonna take control of the little boy. Give me 2 minutes. Excuse me, Maximus. Mommy's gonna go out, dude. You gonna hang out with me, right? Hey, who's running away from me? Hey. Actually, are we delaying all this for a little bit? Okay. All right. Alrighty, he's gonna come in here in a little bit, so we'll have the almighty Maximus in the room, and it'll be loud and fun, just like everybody likes. Watching video, breaking highs. Gonna just give it another little level here, just for fun, and then I'm gonna give Apple. There's that 188.18. This is like the level that it loves to play with. So it's gonna, if it rejects it, continues to rotate down, that could give us a little bit of ignition. I need Microsoft to also fail. Should be trading equities at the moment with the way I'm seeing these levels. Fucking ridiculous. The one thing I will always remember, somebody said that markets will remain irrational for longer than you can remain solvent. And when it comes to the way things are being priced in currently and where we're at as far as extreme greed and valuations of some of these companies, I'm starting to get into the camp of like the biggest sell is going to come into play right when you least expect it. It's just, to me, is kind of like just everything that they were talking about, how they were pricing in these rate cuts. Yeah, whenever it starts, it's gonna keep going because, you know, all these people are buying at these highs, and when you're, like I said, when your neighbors are starting to talk about, oh, the market's great, everything's good, everything's doing well, let's buy this, let's buy that, let's buy this. That's the time when I'm like, all right, let's sell it. But right now we're just like continuing. It's not like it's kind of capitulatory, especially in the S&Ps right now. Well, the S&Ps doesn't normally give you this kind of straight up push rally, so be mindful. A lot of that capitulatory move could be something that's going to rotate us down. And now I'm getting a delta divergence. You're getting a break of the high, coming into a volume node. Apple failed that level. I might take my one shot here short. Yeah, I'm going to take this short here with one contract. And then if I continue it in my direction, I'm going to add. Oops, didn't want to do that. Microsoft, Nvidia. Yeah, I want this thing to kind of push through now. This is where I'm thinking that the short kind of wants to play out. Just kind of based on that wick off top there. I want to try and maybe get a little bit where I can get one off down in this range here. I could add one down here. That stop will be there. Tell me a video wants to pop again. It can go fuck it, so to be honest with you. Microsoft's getting some selling. I have that ad down there below the volume node, below this candle here. If we could fail that, I would like to get one contract off. I actually want to get it off right here at that VWAP. That's like a 1 standard deviation off of VWAP. There's Nvidia still bouncing to the downside. I think we'll get filled on that second one. If we get filled on that second one, I want to take that one off. Maybe, I guess 100 is probably a smart level to take it off at. There, we're filled on the second. If Nvidia can fail this breakout point, then we should rotate down. We'll get one contract off down here about around 100. I'm going to mitigate my loss here because I don't want that. So just bear with me while I try and put this together. Put the stop right above there. Oh, yeah, that's fine. I need that to flush. Give me a little bit of a flush. We'll make back some of what we gave in that loss there. See, we're not risking a full loss here even with the add-on. You know, we're only risking about 250 right now. So to take one off really right here at 100 would be nice to limit that risk, right? We'll take off some, we'll get back what a half pretty much of what we lost in that previous trade, and then we have a runner on to see if we can maximize that whole downside move. But really just playing that pullback as the trade moves in our favor. Just continuing down. Nvidia is still failing that level at 741.60-ish, right? Still pushing down. So if we can get that to continue to push down, then we should be able to get one off and then move from there. Like I said, I've accepted the loss of 240. It's not a full loss. I have 2 contracts on now. Should hopefully be able to get close to 100 level. I want to get it off there and then try and trail out that second contract and try and get it to rotate fully. That'd be fantastic if we can get a full sell off, but I just want to get a portion off first. You'll notice that this will cost average. It takes first in, first out on my platform. It's really cost averaging at this level. So if I do end up getting one off, you'll see that second entry is going to be where that break even will be. So just, realistically, break even's at 109. Nvidia is starting to sell, so hopefully we do get the follow through here. Yeah, I'm going to put that stop right there at 113. Oh, it's running away from me. Above those wicks there. Maximus, come in here. All right, so we're still short. It hasn't gave a quick bounce. So we should get a little bit of follow through on this thing. I would expect. Oh, you got Play-Doh. What's up, dude? What's up, Play-Doh? There you go. Delta's slowing down a bit. Nvidia popped above. Tickle its head above there. I want to see if Apple's peeking up at all. A little bit. Microsoft rounding out. No, it's still. If Nvidia can fail this level and hold below, should get the follow through. I gotta get that contract off. Being patient, trying to let it play out. It's just, you know, letting your strategy work. Seems like it wants to continue to push up. Sometimes you're just going to get run over, and that's just how this game works. Oh, my centering is off. So yeah, we said 230, 240. If it wicks this, then so be it. We're out. All right, we're out on that one. Another loss on the day. Puts us down 650. Boo, boo, boo. That wasn't a full loss. Give myself another one contract to trade. But nothing that I'm going to really want to push past this loss. So, unfortunately, we probably got ticked out there for... Leave the stop just over that. Possibly would have been fine. Yeah, silly. Nvidia's failing that level again. Welcome back, crazy guy. Yeah, you go. Sitting down 650. Not looking to take very much more heat, but looking at Nvidia rolling over, possibly looking to get that one contract on here and just let it do its thing. Yeah, let's do it. Let's see if that'll play. This will be the last shot at it. If it wants to run us over again, it runs us over. We're only going to take the one contract for now. If we see something else, add on. But we're going to kind of just trail it more loose. We'll get to break even if we can get down into this range here where we wanted to take the contract off before, and then we'll so we got ticked out here, unfortunately. If we can get that follow through, we should be in the clear a bit, secure a bit, buy ourselves another trade, So there's the actual move that we would have got. We would have got filled completely if we didn't move our stop down to just above here. Kind of messed with my stop a bit, which was stupid. So where our contract would have been off, we're now at break even. So this is a free trade. I like to see this thing kind of really play out to the downside. If we could mitigate this breakout candle here without a problem, then that's going to be our support there. Trying to make this back by managing this trade properly and not by just securing profit just because. We're going to go above this candle here now that we have broken down through here. That should initiate some shorts, some stops, I should say. It looks like it wants to start to roll. You're getting a good follow through on it. This is going to be the line in the sand now here. I have my stop above 100, well at 100. So, if it comes back and stops me out, that's cool. Not $100, but 18,100, which is really like 135. Mommy's going to go out. We're going to be here. We're going to be working, all right? You good with that? You going to make some money for me, Max? Let's see if we can get that retest that you want, American. It's a little late for it, but let's see if we can get that retest of that level. As we approach this zone here, obviously we're going to start to trail our stop a bit. Probably above this 93 is where that breakdown probably was likely to happen, and if it comes back and accepts above here, you may get some buyers. So that's probably where we're going to trail out to if we can get some more follow through. I want to see this thing play a bit better. This all-time high level here is going to be super important, obviously, where we broke out from. Could this be the the actual continuation that we were looking for, like to get a good follow through. I mean, this is the move. This is the trade we wanted to take. We just had our stop a couple ticks too tight. I mean, really, I guess we would have got stopped on the next one anyway, so it's fine. But we're here. We're taking this trade. We're NVIDIA pushing down. We got to be mindful if it gets to that 736.16. It's helping us out here, but if it gets to there and it bounces, then this is going to rotate back to high. So they're acting in unison, it seems. S&Ps is still pushing it to the downside. We are down 650, but we're sitting about 300 in profit. So we're about down 3. We're a little, probably going to wait and see what happens at this 93 level before we do move our stop. I want to watch NVIDIA try to continue to put some pressure on here. Microsoft catching slight bid here on a pretty much looks like a little uptrend here. So Microsoft did bounce off that trend line, bounce play, but if it cracks, we should get some more follow through on it. If we can get this rotate down again, that's when I'll start to move the stop down to here where we're at. But I want to give it a little bit of room, like I said, above this candle, above that 100 level. Should give us enough room for if it's going to play around with this level and then continue to rotate down, we don't get quite stopped out. Unfortunately, like I said, our initial position got us stopped, and then it rotated down and did what we wanted to do. That's why I only entered one contract, because I did kind of only give myself enough wiggle room for that one contract to be entered. If Microsoft can crack this trend line, watch for that 418.50 level to come into play, and then hopefully even beyond, down to here, down to that where it pushed down before once the market opened. 418.20, 418 flat. That'd be really that would help this out a lot. And you can see the power of one contract if we can trail it properly, right? I'm securing some profits just based on if it does kind of accept back into here and rotate above this level, then probably you get stopped out for break even anyway. So you might as well secure $100 on it, $150 on it. Buy yourself one more good trade, one more good entry. With NVIDIA pushing down and then Microsoft like working this little trend line area, you want to be able to hold it longer, but for me, I gotta wait. I have to trail it. I have to make sure I secure it, especially because the original move, we didn't get that second contract on again, right? So, you would be able to get one off and then have another one, securing more profits. But right now, we'll probably get stopped out on this at 100. There we go. And now we will be down 515. So we got ourselves back a little bit more than $100 there. 515. Just looking for some follow through on that short there with one contract. Still get myself some time, buying myself another trade. That failure of Microsoft to break down and hold that little uptrend really kept us from securing any of that. But NVIDIA pushing down and Apple looking to push back up to kind of that 188.18, but I don't think it's going to be able to get that far, especially if NVIDIA starts to continue to roll. If NVIDIA cracks that 736.16 level here, like I said, I anticipate this to kind of be a rollover. You got a little head and shoulders there that cracked. Now you have a support that wants to crack. So watch it. Be mindful of it. Love to open folders. We have 1 minute till the dreaded 5 minute can't execute on that trade. So we may be ending the day possibly down 5.15. I'm gonna look for one more good one. Possibly we'll stay on till 11:30 today, but really no longer than that. I'm not trying to just chop myself around. This could rotate back to highs. This could do anything that it wants. It could just chop around above here. It could continue to run to all-time highs. I'm leaving this white line here as the previous all-time high as a breakout point because it's just going to be important for me, and then I'll move it come end of the day. Might be back in a little bit, but you want to talk to the people on the screen? No? Delta is pushing up. So there we go. Like I said, I secured that amount. Because I thought if we came above and broke 100, we'd probably come back to stop ourselves out of break even anyway. So you might as well secure a little bit of the profits there. Yeah, we gave back a decent amount. Once we got the flush of this low here, I wanted to see if this would be a retest continuation rotate to the downside, but it really seems like everything that gets sold off gets bid up. So we could potentially look, see what happens at the 11 o'clock hour, see if there's any sort of sell off there, or if there's going to just be that continuation to break out, right? So, like I said, I can't enter as per my rules within the 5. The garbage? Thank you. So I got 4 minutes of just waiting and possibly missing out on this retest breakdown or possibly getting rolled over. So it just kind of keeps me out. You got NVIDIA that popped and then went right to that high there and then sounds off. yeah, it bounced off this here, the breakout point. I wanted to see if it would rotate through the low volume node and into this high volume area here is what I was looking for that. With the strength in the market, this possibly, like anybody looking to bid up is sitting here on the bid. But realistically, I'm looking for that good follow through. That's why I'm trailing my single contracts and not, with this one, with the add-on, I would have done pretty well on that one because I would have been off at 1 at 100, and then I would have been able to trail this second contract. Probably would have been tight with it down here, and that would have been the winner that probably brought us back from red to green. This bounce, it could have been anticipated for sure, but also a failure of this ignition candle tells me that there's possibility that if it comes back into here and rotates back through, then you probably get continuation to the downside. But overall, took a little small win there, broke the losing streak some. Let's see what happens with Microsoft. That bounce right there really kind of brought this to a halt as well. Hang out with Max for 2 seconds. Pee. I am supposed to be getting a phone call shortly for a business meeting for my coffee company. Potentially trying to research some K-Cup stuff, and I have to meet with that guy. So if I do get a phone call and I have to cut, this is our daily P&Ls for the moment. Looks like we are trying to push this low again, but if we crack this high again, then I could see this being another breakout potentially. So could possibly look to take one quick long on it just to try and secure like a quick run to the high if it does want to bounce. catch that bid and run. But Microsoft made another lower high, I should say. And Nvidia is still giving that push down. Apple also rotating down. Yeah, let's see what happens at 11. Like I said, if I have to run, if I have to cut, I apologize. I'm just gonna cut the stream for the business meeting. However, I will be on tomorrow again, 8:30 a.m. We will do the same thing tomorrow. We do have inflation numbers at 7:30, so that should all be digested by the time we get on and market hours starts to work. So let's just see. So 11 o'clock has hit. We're starting to rotate down, starting to get new lows in Delta. Maybe take a break down of this. Try and secure some of that. I'm just playing devil's advocate on both ends. These all-time highs get me in a shitty trading strategy. Let this thing wedge out a little bit. This failed breakdown, re-enter the wedge and kind of hold it, leads me to believe that anything that breaks up will have a little bit of a follow through to it. But the Delta pushing down, man, you're crushing your food, dude. Anything pushing down does have that pressure there. So, what? Napkin? Napkin. Napkin. I'll be right back. Gotta get a napkin. Here you go, young man. There you go. All right, here's that phone call. I'm gonna have to pause. I'll talk to you guys in a little bit. Hello. Yes, sir.